So the whole point in this video, it isn't all about talking about Yes, right? Because at the end of the day, Yes is great and an amazing community, but like anything, like any business, like any venture, it needs the people to make it tick, right? Without the people who are willing to make sacrifices and do the things you need to do to become a great business owner, stuff like Yes and good mentorship programs, they just don't work. So I think it's important to see the type of people, their stories, their successes beyond what we do in-house and what we provide. And that's kind of what today's all about. So we're in Dale's amazing podcast studio. I know you just seen a little clip of it, but look at the lighting setup and all that. If everyone we went and filmed with had this, mate, it would be so much fucking easier. So
efficient to get it done, eh?
I know, man, I know.
Start franchising it.
Exactly. Bulletproof podcast pods, that's what you do, man. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself before the coaching, before being entrepreneurial? Well, you could have been entrepreneurial growing up. I don't know. That's the type of stuff I want to find out, because this is as interesting for me as it is for the people watching as well. Yeah. So where did you grow up? How did you find school? All that kind of stuff. What is your kind of story?
I don't think I've ever always been entrepreneurial, but at the same time, I don't think, especially in Scotland growing up, I don't think it's something that's pushed there. So my mum and dad, they split up when I was younger. So going to like 2 different households. My stepdad was the first person I was ever kind of in contact with that ran his own business. And I kind of think how I was through school, I was always interested in fitness. PE was something that I was like, yep, I'm fucking shit hot at this. So as far, the first time I remember was like the first year of high school, you do like a cross country race. And the full year, the guys do it. And I remember finishing like 23rd, and I remember seeing the attention that the guy who finished first got. I was like, I want that attention. Yes. So I made, that was my first like bit of competition and bit of fucking getting after it and really becoming competitive. So that was where I started training. I was like, I'll just run more. Surely I'll be better if I run more. You had the bleep test and all that sort of stuff. So I won that in second year, and then came back in second year, and I was like, right, cool, I bet him now. So that was like me getting into my fitness side of things. But where fitness really started for me, and it's mad to think about, but it was a compliment from one girl. Dale's got a six-pack, so I done 50 sit-ups, 50 press-ups every night from third year in high school all the way through, right? So this is how I got involved.
That's a proper 15 minutes. Like,
I don't know if you remember. So that's how like my whole drive towards fitness, and that then evolved over the years. But in school, academically, like I wasn't bad. I had no interest in it, and the one thing that I had interest in was people, and kind of was good at that. I got my higher education there, but as soon as I get accepted, I was going to go into college. I thought that's what you do. You go to school, you go to college, you go to uni. But then I kind of realised in like 4th and 5th year, I was like, I've no sat enough like hires to get into uni. I was like, fuck, I'm a failure. That was probably my first taste of shit. I need to buck up my ideas.
Yeah.
And then I got my first job as a milkman. So I was up at 2 a.m, and I think this was 5th year. So I got up at 2 a.m, deliver milk to 8 a.m, and then go to school. So this is where I started making money.
Wow,
which is
that's
mental.
Some shit, what time were you going to bed at?
When you're younger, you're more resilient, aren't you? So I would go to bed at like 10 o'clock, wake up at 2, jumping in the back of this van in the morning, 300 doors, but you get paid £10 a shift for that, mate. And I thought, this is it, I made it. Like, I'm getting my own money. This is insane. So this would have been 2007, 2008.
Did you take them to a tribunal?
No, so you were like paid for what's that, from 2 a.m. to, we maybe finished about 7:30 on a good day, me and 2 other guys in the van. But where you made your money was tips. So Thursday and Friday you'd go and collect milk money for the doors, and naturally people would tip you more. So you walk away with like £200 a week at the age of 16, 15, 16. And to me that was like so much money. Like, I was like, right, cool, I can do what I want type of thing. So that was my first taste of like cash in hand type of jobs. And I liked that more. I was like, fuck education, like I'm gonna do that.
Here's money.
I was like a full-time milkman. I was like, right, how do I scale this up? What can I do next? And that's where, not really thinking about business side of things, but there was a main driver to go, right, I want to make more money. And that's what it was always about. So passed my driving test, and then I started doing deliveries for the Chinese. And then I started doing part-time work for my stepdad, which was marble masonry work, making fireplaces, But basically,
Quite interesting.
Basically the bitch boy that takes all the granite worktops up, down three flights of stairs. So that's where my career had started. All cash in hand job, and I think I was walking away with £350 to £400 a week, which was a lot of money at the age of 17, 18. I was like, I couldn't have made it. But I don't know, there was just something there. I was like, this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life. So that's where I started working, and I always wanted to become a personal trainer, but I think subconsciously I was looking about and I was like, you don't see any old personal trainers. Don't really know a business person other than running your gym. I never looked into it that much, but I thought, right, that's not a long-term career to have, so let me just go into the standard industries that's out there. And I never went to college, I never went to uni, or I went to college for half a semester and realised I liked making money more, so I dropped out of that and sort of stuff.
It's a common theme with a lot of younger entrepreneurial people, even if they don't become entrepreneurs right at that point, they just don't click with education a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I was doing like sports and fitness, so I think I was doing like a HNC or whatever it was called, and I was working part-time I was working part-time because I couldn't go full-time because I had college in the other days. And I was like, I can get an extra 45 quid if I don't go to college and I go to work. And again, it was the driver and money, so I pulled out that, went full-time into the marble masonry stuff. So at that point I was like, right, no hires, no kind of formal education, and I looked at what gets paid well. And I remember hearing one of my mates getting a job with the railway and he got 27 grand a year. And I was like, wow, if I get 27 grand a year, I've made it for life. So I started looking at like what jobs could you get without any education, and call centre work was like, when is it? That's about 2010. So call centres was like, seems to be like the go-to move. It's obviously different these days, but that was like a guaranteed 20 grand income. And when I was looking at the salary that I was getting at the time, it was like £240 a week. And I was like, right, cool, I could sit in my arse all day and answer phones easy. So I applied for a few different ones. I ended up working with John Lewis, and I was like, right, cool. I actually felt like I had a career at this point. So I'm like, right, cool, what do managers get now? Okay, managers get X. And at the same time, I'd applied to a couple of different jobs, and I applied for apprenticeship in BT. Because a family member works there, and she's like, if you get a job in here, you're set for life, great pension, all this sort of stuff. So I'm like, okay, sounds cool, right? Mum and dad will be proud of us, all this sort of stuff. I ended up getting applied for that job. The mad thing about this is they phoned me a year and a half later and said, we'd love to get you in for an interview. And I'm like, I was like, I applied for this ages ago. I'm working with John Lewis, I'm fine. So I nearly turned down this opportunity, and the woman was like, look, this is a really good opportunity. Like, salary starts at like, after your apprenticeship will start at 28,000 and can go up to 32. And I was like, what? I was like, that's my number. This is an opportunity to hit my number. So I went to the interview and ended up getting a job with BT, and that kind of led me down. This was me stepping into the corporate world. So I'm age of 19, 20 at this point, and this is my first taste of well, I guess I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I was just sort of winging it and going, right, let me find some sort of, okay, right, top end, I know if I stick this apprenticeship out for a year, I'm jumping from fucking 11 grand a year to 28, which is, so it was like, just bide your time, this sort of thing. And through that process, like 3 months into it, we were the first injection of young people into the corporate world in BT. So you're dealing with business accounts, all that bone stuff, but everyone in there was like 45 and above, like been in the job for 30 years. And we were the first injection of like fresh meat, like 10 people. So they sat us down and we excelled because of rolling out new tech, rolling out new systems, and the kind of older generation were just stuck in the times and not ready for change. So that left me with an opportunity to, 3 months in, start coaching people in the job for 30 years on how to use the new system that we used. So I was starting this sort of coaching job and was helping other people dealing with manager escalations and all that sort of stuff. But that's where I was like, I actually quite like this. Like, I'm enjoying coaching. That's actually where Coach Crosser came from. So like 7 years I was at BT, and it was always to climb the ranks, get into leadership. That was like, I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I was like, right, I like this coaching sort of stuff. Management at that time was like old school management. So it was like, hit this number, all this sort of stuff. There's no behavioural stuff, and there was no like proper leadership, because I was starting to read books, I was starting to listen to podcasts, and I just seen that there was a massive disconnect with actually running a team of people. I actually had genuine interest in that. So I made a point, like, all of this is going on. My wife Gillian, we were together at this point. We had met just before I started BT, and she got a graduate job down south. So I was just like, right, I'm waiting on a one manager leave so I can then get a promotion. I was like, I'll just see if BT are everywhere. I'll see if there's a company, or see if they've got a place down south. So we moved to Nottingham just by that chance, and that was one of the best moves that happened with me. And this is where I started working, refining that skill of like leadership and running teams. Got the opportunity to go all over the country and manage different operations and turn operations around and get sales teams delivering a target of like 200 grand and exceeding that target and delivering like 1.2 million within a quarter. So all these like fantastic achievements on the front of it, but it was in the corporate world, so it wasn't amounting to anything.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't personally benefit you. That's the thing that I always find is like, it's quite funny, is like I'll speak to someone and they'll say, oh yeah, you know, I work for such and such an insurance broker or this and that, and you're like, all right, okay, and, you know, last month my team, we had a target of 600,000, we done 850,000, so I'm like, right, you exceeded your work in managing that team, because you'll probably agree with me in this, I don't think there's anything as bad teams, it's bad leaders, right? And it's like, okay, so you led that team to get 250 grand of extra revenue, what did you get for it? And they're like, oh, I met my target.
But where's...
Yeah, but if I meet my target every month for a year, I get like a £3,000 bonus, and I'm like,
basil at the end.
I'm like, yeah, but you're like eating shit for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like, is that actually worth it? But I guess to some people,
so this is where I had no aspirations to like do my own thing. I was so caught up in I want to climb the financial ladder in the corporate setting. I don't know if I remember a conversation with when we came in as apprentices. I remember talking to some of the other younger guys there, and they were like, I was like, oh, I can't wait till we hit our apprentice level and we get like 20k. He goes, why stop there? He goes, it's easy to make money in the corporate world. He was like, and he was bringing up the internal job adverts, and it was like, senior manager, 50 grand. I was like, this was money that never wouldn't. If I thought I would make that, I was like, right, nah, I'm living the rich lifestyle.
50 grand was
what you think? I don't know why, it's a weird number. So that was, I was always kind of climbing towards a financial goal, but at the same time in that pursuit, I found something I actually really enjoyed, and I was really good at as well. And I think that was just because in the company where I had came in at, there was no younger managers. I was one of the youngest kind of managers, or one of the youngest senior managers at one point in the engineering space, with no engineering background and all this. So I'd done some what could be seen on paper as some amazing things, but it was getting to the point, like you said, you're busting your ass off, and like you don't have set hours at that point. They might say in your contract work 37.5 hours a week, but I'd be the one staying back late because I wanted to, because I actually wanted to help some people in my team. But then you do that enough times. No, but because I'm thinking I'm playing the long game here, like, oh, this will get recognised as success, and I'll get my promotion and all this sort of stuff. And I remember the first year that I had management, I'm busting my ass off. Me and this one other guy were the youngest guys in the place. We started our leadership roles at the same time. We were like the centre managers, left and right hand guys. Like, we'd done everything. We were just far better and just quicker at doing things than anyone else. And I got to that yearly appraisal, and I was like, right, cool, bonus time. I hear people's getting like 10k. And I got mine through, and it was like 3.5 grand. And I was like, oh, all right, okay, fair enough. And then I heard he got 4,200. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, we both, if anything, we're both over delivered. And you're always got to be biased, but I was like, I feel like I'm asking myself a wee bit more. And I was like, I've been petty here. And then I started realising, I was like, it doesn't matter what I do. There's corporate politics that goes on. There's always going to restrict me for pursuing that. So then I started looking at jobs elsewhere, and moved sites, moved to Sheffield, and this was an interesting time. So we're living down south through this whole time, and we were just about to, one thing I was going to do was pack my job in and go travelling. That was like something that everybody was doing, and you get a wee bit of FOMO. It's like fuck it, I can't do this when I'm older.
No one does. I don't know. I mean, but I don't know why it never stood out to me. I was like, I've travelled a lot now, thankfully, but see that whole go travelling for 6 months and all that, I'm like, I'm sound like it's just.
So I get caught up in that world, and we got our visas, and sadly Jill's mum, she got she got diagnosed with breast cancer. So I threw like a spanner in the works, and she's all fine now, which is great. But at that time, that kind of put a halt in that, and Gillian was applying for jobs to move back home. So she moved home, but I still had my job in Nottingham, and I applied for this job in Sheffield, which was 4 days on, 4 days off, 12-hour shifts, 2-day shifts, and then this was my first experience in night shifts. But then I carried the night shift because the money got me into this 40k bracket, and then with bonus hit this 50k number. So I was like, right, cool, I'm set for life if I've done that. So my preparation in terms of sacrifice I was ready to make, I was living in Falkirk, and I'd drive down to this Sheffield site for 4 days. I'd sleep in my car, I'd go to the Pure Gym to get showered, brush my teeth, and I'd use the work facilities to cook my dinner. And I'd done that for like 6 to 7 months. And this is where I was starting to go, right, it's actually not about money. You know, I'm making the most money. Like, I'm thinking I'm financially free at this point, right? I'm making a good wage, but my cost of living and all that stuff, I've never been like materialistic. So I was struggling to spend like that. I know, you're not at all. So I'm at that point, and I'm like, right, I don't see the point in paying for a hotel or buying a flat or whatever, because I'm only here for 4 days. Well, if you do the math on it, it's like 12 days or 16 days in the month, depending on that. So I started just like driving to a David Lloyd's, chilling out in the sauna for like 4 or 5 hours till they shut, parking up with the lorries, sleeping, getting up to my shift going. And I'd done that for like so much. And I remember having a conversation with myself, like, I need to do something different. There's definitely something that I need to do. Like, it's not necessarily about the money. So anyway, fast forward to like the last part, I ended up getting another, my first kind of senior leadership role up in Scotland, and it was managing engineers and that. And I thought, right, cool, company car. I was like, this is now a new height. I've made it. And I kept telling myself I made it through every single promotion. And this was the first one, and I was like, I made it. And I think 2 weeks in, I was like, I've lost the spark again. Like, there's no, like, it's just the same job. I thought the higher up the chain that you climb, the more you learn, but it just meant like corporate politics just gets pettier and pettier the higher up the levels, and the more disconnect you actually have from the bottom. So I started saying to myself, I was like, I'm going to quit my job. And having this conversation with Gillian, my wife,
and was she supportive of it? Was she getting herself?
Nah, we've got a very strong relationship. There's a reason, like, we've been together for 10 years, and chose to marry her because I knew like she was the one that was always going to back me. So class. So as much as I'm saying, like, I genuinely think on it, she's challenged me. She's like, right, I absolutely think you can, but what's your plan? Like play it out in your head. So I started taking clients on. I had a garage set up at this point.
And had you qualified as like a fitness coach or anything at that point?
No. But see, and this is probably, as much as I'm talking about my job in that sense, alongside of this, since the age of 20, any book I'm reading, any podcast I'm listening to, it's all around fitness, it's all around health, it's all about longevity. I done my own stint of like...
Sorry, I just had to do that there. I was breathing like a pug through that fucking mic.
It's nothing worse than... Through this process, I'm interested in my own health and fitness, and I'm looking at getting stronger. And then I was like, oh, cool, I'll do bodybuilding because that was the thing. So I'd done that for a wee bit. And then...
Do you ever competed or anything?
Competed once and worked with a coach and that sort of things. And this was my first taste of how fucked up this space is, because I'm doing all this education side of things. As much as I don't see it as education, I'm just fascinated, I'm learning. And I'm like, why is nobody talking about some of these other things I started finding out? So I looked the most shredded and maybe the biggest and leaner I've ever been by stepping on stage, but my health was shit. And this was my first experience of, you might look good in a picture, but your actual overall health is fucking piss poor. So I was, my hormones were fucked up, my energy was low, my in terms of food, because of the diet plan that I was following at the time, I was sneaking about the house and eating chocolate, and I was like, why the fuck am I doing this to myself? Like, pure deceiving, what am I trying to say?
Deceiving?
Deceiving, like to go, oh look, he's got fucking abs, he's eating all this, and then I'm in the background doing all this sort of stuff. So I'm doing all that at this point, and I was like, I came out the other end of that, and then had to work on like my own like testosterone levels and my hormone health and that sort of stuff, because it was so low from... I messed about with steroids as well during this period. I was just like, right, cool, I want to get bigger. Everybody else is getting bigger. Fuck it, I'm going to do it. And then
it's one of those sports that I guess there's like, even MMA is the same, mate. Like
it's not. I think it's even just more prevalent in a gym. It's quite rare that you find people that they haven't done it. But I never regret anything. But going into that, I was never like, right, this is a dosage, I need to take this. It was just, I seen my mate do it. He done it for 6 months, and I was like, okay, he's no side effects, I'll do it. And I would just fucking, what is it you do again? And I'd just go off his feedback type of thing.
I know a guy,
just young and naive.
I know a guy who was in very good shape and started like just taking different performance enhancers, and he stayed on like the same kind of doses and that for like probably 6 months, never came off his cycle or whatever. And he's actually in prison now. He had a full mental breakdown, and got cut off by a bus driver and dragged the bus driver and like nearly killed the guy. Like put him in hospital. The guy was in a coma and all that. Smashed this bus driver, mate, and now he's in prison. And it's like, oh, he just said that like it just wrecked.
So it definitely, I don't think it necessarily messes with you. There's definitely things that like depends on the compound that you take, but you can take some stuff and you're just numb to everything. That's what I found. Like people in our family like passing away and stuff, and I'm like, cool. Like just no emotional feeling. But there is compounds out there. It doesn't make you a dick, it just enhances the dick that's already there. So I'd say with that guy, he's probably already a bit of a ball bag and just fucking went for it. That just elevated like where he came from.
Not in my time of knowing him had he prior attempted murder a bus driver. But
definitely thought about it though.
Yeah, haven't we all?
So yeah, I'm kind of doing all this, and I'm like, and if I look at my lifestyle at that point, there was aspirations to become a better leader, climb the financial ladder, and at the same time, another main focus was health, fitness, and just genuine interest. In the podcast I was listening to, I've done something like 3,000 episodes, 3 episodes a week, an hour and a half. That was like consistently listening to that, replaying episodes, and I would always get this kind of feeling inside of, man, imagine that was my job. Imagine I'd done that. I started to find myself training in gyms, and I'd turn my earphones off and I'd just listen to PTs PT their clients at like 5 in the morning. This is when I trained. I was like, man, that's some job. So this was all build up over maybe a 3-year period, 4-year period. I was like, right, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And I got to the point where I was like, right, cool, let's do it. Let's quit this job. So I just take this promotion and turn around to my manager a couple of months in saying, I'm going to hand in my notice. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, thinking about the pension, thinking about the shares that you get in the company, think about like your salary, you're the youngest person to ever like make this salary in this company or get this position in this company. So I don't care. I like, to me, it's not about money anymore. It's actually there's something missing, and I need to go find what that is. And I thought I think I convinced myself that my purpose was to lead other people, but I had no interest in phone lines and broadbands, mate. I couldn't I could always spin it like, yeah, we are the 4th utility. Like you can't do anything but a phone line and broadband, and I can make it inspiring and make me feel good inside. But at the end of the day,
connect the world.
It's exactly all this bullshit terminology. But at the end of the day, I was like, who am I kidding, man? That's no, like, if I'm doing this, like, I need to find a way where I can do both. So, fortunate enough that I had a garage set up, and I just went to my own network with my friends and family, and I was like, well, I'm going to start training people in my garage. This was COVID time as well, so everybody was like crying out for a gym, and I had my stuff in my garage, so I was training people in there for like £11 a session and all that. So I was like, I just want to get reps in. I'm getting my salary and I don't care about money. There has to be some sort of transactional value, because if it's free, you're not going to do it, right? Yeah. So I started doing that, and I was like, nah, this is it. This is actually what I want to do. So that's where I had quit and moved away from the corporate world. This is only like 2 years ago.
As I was going to say, like when we first met, which was probably 18 months ago-ish, end of 2021 or start of 2022?
No, we're only, this time last year was when you had your first Protégé event. It is about this time. What is it, July? It was August.
You had came a couple months prior, so it's just maybe 14 months or something.
Something like that. So that
and I remember you talking about it as if like it was like
fresh
a few months ago, which it obviously was. And I've always thought that, because like it was. I think it's one of the things that so many young people watching might think is like how fast is that transition from quitting your job into actually doing something. And I think that's what scares so many people, is they think they need to build up really large alongside their job so that they both match each other and then they quit.
Yeah.
But what I always say is like there's no choice but to find your success quickly. Like you're gonna die way too soon for you to do something slowly. Do you get what I mean? Like if you're trying to get rich, you're trying to get successful, you're trying to make money, make an impact, you need to do it fast.
You need to, yeah.
Because, but by the time you use inflation and currency devaluation and all these different things that happen as you're moving slowly, the game of life is always beating you in that sense. So, like what you've done, just taking that leap and making it happen in such a small period of time is so massive.
And I think we're always the way a race against time. So I remember kicking myself and going, man, I should have done this when I was 20, because I knew the first month in I was like, this is what I should have been doing. But what I've now realised, like a year and a bit on, or almost 2 years on, is that all that time spent in the corporate world and climbing up the chain and dealing with different people, different walks of life, that's actually made me excel at the running my own business and doing my own thing as a personal trainer, because I forget that in terms of people skills, like some people actually struggle to speak to people, and that's like a big barrier for like a newly qualified PT. So all those skills are already there, and training wise, I'd subconsciously put in so many reps beforehand that I consumed so much information, and applied this to my own training. I was doing it with Jelly, and I was doing it with some friends, and just naturally had a lot of reps in there where I could hit the ground running when I was ready to make that leap. So yeah, I quit my job, and it wasn't just right, that's it, I'm quitting my job. It was like going, right, I started doing the maths on what do I need to make to cover my bills and everything like that. And fortunately enough, like it wasn't much money at all.
Yep.
As we start realising that your paycheck that you get, because I think mine was about 4,200-ish, 4,500, somewhere within that range. And I was like, man, I'm never going to do that. But you stick that number into a month and you divide it by the service that you're delivering. I was like, I need 10 clients to pay me 35 quid. Oh, that's easy. I was like, that's piss easy.
Mate, do you know what's so funny? And you'll probably know this as well if you've went through like the goal setting and the £1 million fast track inside of the Life Mastery program. And I talk about reverse engineering.
That's it.
Goals.
You just reverse engineer.
It's like so, because you say, I think I've made a mistake sometimes by scaring people by setting the bar too high, by saying here's a £1 million fast track, and people go, whoa, I'm on 25 grand a year. Like what you talk about £1 million? And I should have maybe made a 6-figure fast track, because it eases people into that. And then it's hard because we have those people, like new people coming inside of our training programs who can't imagine having 100k a year. Then we've got people like you, Brian Bonham, Ross Gray, all these types of people who you need that level above to think about where's next, right? And when I done that fast track, I was doing it and I'm like, this is so simple, but so many people don't think about it.
I know.
And when you walk back from it, you understand what your clients cost to acquire and all that. Like, it literally becomes simple, a numbers game. That's all it is. It's a numbers game, mate.
So that was like, that gave me a lot of confidence to go, right, can I get 10 clients? Absolutely. Because I'm looking at the market, and another thing as well, I'm seeing people in my circle become PTs and do things, and I'm like, I wouldn't really do it that way. And I was like, I don't know if you're always going to, not that you think you're better than anyone, but you're always criticising other people that's doing what you want to do. I feel and going, I know I can do that. And
market research, you're watching the mistakes that other people are making. Maybe not even mistakes, maybe that's them. They've been one of the people who are scared to talk on camera. You're watching them make the errors and make the rubbish content for you to be able to
even stuff that when people are doing good stuff, so, that's actually a good way of doing that. Yeah. It's like, I could do that. And then so I, like you said, so like what you said in that program was everything that I'd done just by default, like reverse engineering that number. And I was like, right, cool, let's just set a number. And this is what led me to actually finding you the first time. Was I was listening to Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Right.
I was like, right, cool. So I'm listening to this audiobook. Just came back my honeymoon, and I was looking at my business, and I'd killed it in that first couple of months. So I knew I was like, I've never worked in a gym. I need to work in a gym to understand the operations. In my head, that's what I made a part. I could have kept training people from my garage, but I was like, I'll build my brand of Coach Crosser, and I'll be seen in a gym, and I want to be seen in the Wish areas, like a good PT, if not the best, well-known PT. So I walked into a gym that had a newest gym that had just opened. I just walked up to the owner. I says, look, here's my story. Here's where I'm at. Is there an opportunity for me to work here? I'll work for free. I'll do hours for you. I'll do whatever it takes. And I knew, like, any person I interact with, I can, like, I don't know. I just feel like out of all those years of dealing with so many different people, there was never awkward. Like, I could always like have decent conversation with people. And he gave me the opportunity, and I remember like a month in, I'd done a couple of hours of doing cleaning and all that, but I'm just biding my time and kind of watching everything from a business perspective. And I felt a couple of months in, I was like, right, cool, I've got this. I know what I need to do. and he went to pay me, and I was like, I don't want money. He said, what do you mean? I was like, I don't want paid for that. I says, it was honestly just goodwill, like, you felt me. And that went, like, by not taking a couple £100 from him, that went a long way in building a strong relationship with him who runs his family-run business type of thing. And that then led him to opening doors in terms of saying, look, here's what we do business-wise. So actually understanding the financial cost of operations from a gym perspective, because you don't see that in the front of it.
Of course not. See the price that you pay as the customer, and only the person operating it knows the margin. And to be totally honest, most people operating businesses don't even know the margin. They sit down and they go, oh yes, if I'm getting 50 quid an hour, but they're not even thinking about the daftest stuff. Perishables, insurances, blah, blah, dividing that across a year.
Hand sanitizer.
People just don't know the margins. It's unreal.
So he was great because I got to understand what was the setup cost. And I'd done a little bit of this before, and I knew, I was like, I never want to run a gym. I was like actually seeing that allowed me to make a decision in my mind going, there's more business opportunity than in doing my coaching and personal training.
Yeah.
And he always wanted me to manage like the team of coaches that he had and manage his business and that sort of stuff. And I kind of done that on the side just to help him out in that. But I was like, look, I'm past that now. I says, I'm working on me and working on my brand. So I started building up my clientele and filling my books out like in the space of like a couple of months, which was awesome. But the big Achilles heel I seen was what every kind of person runs into, I would imagine, that goes self-employed, was if I don't work, I'm not making money. So I'd went on my honeymoon and it was like a 3-week break, and I came back and there was a churn, there was a drop of clients, and I seen that drop financially, not enough to like scare me. I was like, because I was on track to hit 6 figures that year. Like, yeah, I was on track. Because that in my head, 100 grand. You're like, that's a nice round number. It's like the 50 grand. It doesn't mean anything, but it's like I'm going towards that. And I was consistently a bit where I was bringing that revenue in. I was like 7, 8 ish, 7, 5 ish.
You make it a month. You do what, 96 a year or something like that.
Aye, so well, and I knew there was space because I'm PTing 10 hours a day, and I loved it. I loved every minute. Like people say to me, it was like, you mental. It's like, no, like I can't explain to you what it is, but I'm on cloud nine. I'm going to lean into this until I burn out, because that's where my head's at. So I go away on holiday and I come back and natural churn of clients had dropped off, and I was like, my business isn't that. My business is very volatile, and I was telling myself, because people are like, oh, this just natural churn to being a PT, and I was like, no, but I want to treat it like a business. And so I started listening to these audiobooks like Rich Dad Poor Dad, and one thing he says is go to local events like in your area. He goes, doesn't matter what it is, could be property, could be a doctor taking a fucking speech on something that you're not interested in, just go to them. And on my Instagram, your ad pops up. Yes, fucking jump rouse that. Targeted dads, right at its finest. And I was like, fuck it. I've always like definitely going to start. Like I was like, diversify my business. If I'm making good income, then I may as well start growing like a property portfolio, because it's one of the most like legitimate ways of having like income come in, or even just pension or like whatever it is. So I go to that event and I'm like, fuck me, man. I was like, there's so much, like that's where my mind started changing in terms of like business development, starting leveling that up.
This is one of the things I always say, right? It's like when you attend events, you could, whatever the core theme of the event is, might not be exactly what you're doing at that point, might not be what makes you tick. That's what I always say at those events. You'll have heard me say it before. It's like whatever you do is take this information and apply it to whatever is relevant in your life. If you're thinking, Richard, actually, I've came to this event and I've realised that maybe I don't actually want to be an entrepreneur, great. That's the best money you'll ever spend. Fantastic, because now you're not going to go and waste your time on something you don't want to do. So take the rest of the information, apply it in your corporate life, apply it in your health and fitness, apply it in your relationship, whatever. Like, it should take that information and utilise it. You get what I mean?
So I went to that event and I seen it pop up, and that you've popped up in my TikTok and that, but I was never. I see a kind of funny comment he made, and I was like, haha, like, I never followed you in that sense. But I remember, like, before it, I remember going, he's a bit of a dickhead, though. Oh, he is. He's a bit of a wanker, like, being, like, and you know, a lot of people say that about you. Yeah. And then I heard you speak on stage, and I was like, that's the same guy? And I was like, fuck's this guy? And I honestly would genuinely, truly, I'm not saying this just to blow smoke up your ass, but hearing you speaking on stage, I was like, fucking hell, somebody else that's actually in the same, no situation, but is just try to do better at business in that sort of sense.
This is what I experienced, exactly what you said. I experienced with Grant Cardone, was that I was watching videos, and it could be other people talking about business, right? And I imagine you knew 50% of a language, right? You only know 50% of it, and this person's talking to you fluent in that language, so you're like, okay, I'm picking up this bit, I got that since I got that. Then when I heard Grant Cardone speak, I was like, you're speaking Richard Dixon right now. You're speaking my exact language. I understand what you're saying. This makes sense. I'm not... Do you know what it is? It's like a vote of confidence. You start to convince yourself, am I fucking insane? Like, have I got something wrong with me?
It was because of the people you got around you and all that sort of stuff. Exactly. So that's where I started. Not necessarily, I guess, a change in my circle, and even where that's came in a short space of like 9-10 months.
Yeah.
But hearing you speak of that, and I was like, right, fuck it. I was like, property seems like a good way to go down. And there's two ways you can look at my investment for Protégé. So a good few £1,000. You can look at the biggest waste of money because I'm not interested in doing anything with property anymore. Yeah. Or you can look at it from the fact that the way I spin it, that Protégé event led me to joining the Yes Academy. Yeah. And that resonated a lot more with me than what property did. And like you said, I came to the crossroads of going, right, if I go down the property route and do this and that, yeah, I could do that. But I was like, but then we already know, and I've already, through my past experiences, came to the conclusion that doesn't matter how much money I make, I need purpose and fulfillment, and I'm only getting that from the job that I'm doing. So that led me to make that decision. It doesn't matter what the number is on that, I'll never say that was a waste of money. As much as I understand the investment strategies do it, I would lean on somebody like Brian, and this is where
you and Brian are pretty close.
Yeah, so Brian, he and this is like where we're at just now, like changing your circle, and he's like, look, I'll if you got a room I can rent off you, I'm like, yeah. And then he's launched his clothing line, he's got his construction business, so he's built his network, and then you're tapping into all these different things. So there's so many ways you can kind of go off on a tangent with it. But to me, that's where it led me, and I was like, right, I need to start thinking about my actual business. And when you were talking about the launch of the Yes Academy this time last year,
it's literally a year to the week, by the way.
Is it this week?
Is it a year
I wasn't sure if it was like August now. I remember it was in July.
It's like the first week. It was like the 3rd of July or something like that. So it's like this week is where it lands.
And this is when you start thinking you're going crazy, because people are like, oh, where were you? So I was at a property event. How much was that? And he's saying, oh, man, that's crazy. And you're like, is it crazy? And you're like, there was no, oh, that's a lot of money or whatever. It was just, that's what I need to do.
Do you know what someone said to me a couple of weeks ago? They asked me a question. They said, do you still go to events and blah, blah, blah? And for example, I just joined the mastermind maybe 3 months ago. It was 22.5 grand for the year, right? So, and I'm in a couple of different things like that. And they were like, what? 22.5 grand a year? And I am by far and away, by a country mile, the least successful person in that mastermind. Like, I mean, it's not even close. Like, if I'm making this and that's good, the next person's making like here. Yeah. It's not even close. And you need to to join that mastermind, you need to send them like bank statements, proof of what you've like done, so that they can be like, okay, we will now allow you to pay to get into this, right? So when I said to them, they were like, are you mental? And they, just by chance, as a boy I went to school with, had went to uni in England. And I went, wait a fucking minute. I says, how much do you get paid a year? That's a personal question. And I was like, nah, you've started it. How much do you get paid a year? And he's like, oh, like 38 grand or something, right? And 38 grand in your mid-20s is a good salary, right? And I was like, how much did your degree cost? And he was like, I'm not saying. I was like, how much did your degree cost?
Do the math.
I'm not saying. And I was like, right, well, was it more than 22.5 grand? He's like, yeah. I was like, I probably spent 180 grand on my education, not a university education, right? I probably spent about that, £180,000. And I was like, have you spent close to that with student debt, blah, blah, blah? Not a million miles off it, not that high, but not that far away. I was like, and you're making like, no offence, much less than me. And you're saying,
see the marginal difference.
You're saying that I'm crazy. I'm the crazy one, and you're the fucking logical one. Because you listen to your stupid careers advisor. You listen to Mr. Hamlin, the specky bastard. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? It's mental how people see some of that.
No, I
wouldn't question spending money on, like, designer. And I love clothes and watches and all that, right? But people wouldn't ever think about, okay, I've got this in savings, what should I do with it? Should I do something that's going to benefit my life? Or should I do something that's going to be cool to take a photo of and put on my Instagram? You know, it's a weird one.
No, definitely like, your perception of like money, and to me, while reverse engineering that number, I was like, it's actually easy to make money. It's actually a lot easier than what I thought it was to make money. But where there's a skill and there's an art to it is actually running like a business that brings in income without you working, and that's now the pursuit of the goal that I'm in, what I'm doing over the next year or whatever it is that I'm doing. But that led me to that crossroads of like finding fulfillment, purpose, and that sort of stuff. And I was getting that from really I was helping a lot of people. I ended up being a lot of older clients over the age of 40, some at the age of 70, lift weights for the first time, and there's so much benefits to that. So that's a message I've resonated with, and I'll continue to push that message. So this had happened in Protege, then your Yes Group. Just about to go hard and I think I found my first deal, and me and Brian were going to go in it, and it was it's probably
the house in
it's probably the one that like, all the advice you give is like, don't do this sort of stuff. Me and Brian were like, nah, let's do that sort of stuff, type of thing. So it was like, fuck it, no, this is a steal.
Everybody has
the
to do
on
that,
it.
mate.
And then one of the clients I was training, her husband, who owns Rivals, was like, can I get a sit down chat with you? I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, I'm opening he's opening a third location, so he's like, I'm opening a third location in Airdrie. He says there's a big massive hall there. He goes, you want to run it as a gym? And I already knew, made the decision in my mind. I was like, I'll never run a gym. And I was like, well, let me see it like. So I came over, scouted the place, and I was like, right, cool. And straight away I seen a vision for what I wanted to do, like a private studio, a bigger garage almost. All the content I was creating, I was doing a podcast. Well, I was paying for a podcast studio. So straight away my mind's jumping to, that's a saving there, and that actually makes me that allows me to have a solid business.
Use it 24 hours a day if you want.
Exactly. Yeah. Hire out. There's so many different ways I can do it, and I was like, right, I need to make this happen. And if you look at any startup gym cost, you're talking like a minimum $500,000 to get in. So I'm looking at it going, right, I know that. How am I going to raise that capital? I was like, right, what do I need as a bare minimum? So painting the room black mats. I was like, my style of training, barbells, squat racks. Okay, there's squat racks there. Let me go to Primal, get a quote. And just so happened that I think it cost me just over 35, 40k. I had
not bad at all. Some of the gym, being friends with Stephen, and I've heard about what some of like the big gyms and all that spend. I'm like, what?
It's insane. So like equipment is mental. Now, fortunate enough, this was a gym before, and got the opportunity to buy all the old equipment for duck cheap. So with that capital, I was like, right, I need to get mats. I need to do that. So I just had to find a way. I didn't have 35 to 40k, but I found a way, and this is where it goes to what you can actually do in terms of raising capital. And that I'd learned all those that sort of strategies from property and the Yes stuff as well. So that allowed me to kind of push this forward, and here we are from so that had happened. October comes about, got the keys in December, and started working on it till where we're at now. So and through that couple of months, it's been like, you could bring somebody in to build the place, but I was like, fuck it, my dad's a joiner, I was like, I'm going to build it. This ceiling fell down 4 times in this space.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you've asked. Sorry, it's going to be. No, it was me. It's not. My dad. I'm like, how do you put a sheet of plasterboard up yourself? How are you doing this? He's like, you need to make a dead man's hang. I was like, the fuck's a dead man's hang? So I'm on YouTube. I'm building this bit of timber, and I'm putting it up, and I'm like, right, cool. Right now, I'm screwing everything on. I was like, right, that looks good. Take my hand away. Boom, falls down. I was like, you're fucking kidding me. So do it again. Takes me like 4 hours. I think it's like 1, 2. It's like 6 bits of plasterboard, right? So then my mate, who's a spark, comes out with his apprentice, and I got him to wire up to put plugs and all that in. And I'm training. I started bringing some of my clients over for the gym up the back, and I hear this thud, and the wee prick stepped through it, and I was like, mate, how is this even possible? He just fell through that roof, and I was like, well, is he all right? And he says, aye. And I was like, mate, I could honestly cry right now. But that whole thing, I made a point of like wanting to do a lot of it myself. To really, I guess this is where it goes into learning, didn't it? Will I do that again? Probably not. In fact, definitely not. But it's good to understand, I guess, everything that goes into like building a unit, putting down fucking carpets and mad.
So it gets you an understanding of because this isn't going to be your only premises, and I know we'll talk about this in a minute as well. You're doing a lot of online stuff now as well, because it's giving you the freedom to, you loved previously coaching 10 hours a day, but you don't get that freedom from it. You can't travel more and all that kind of stuff. And I know that's something you're doing a lot more of now, but it will give you, if you decide to open more locations, have more staff, you can understand what is a reasonable time scale for fitting that place out, and what your costings are going to be on the equipment, and you've already got outstanding relationships with people at manufacturers. There's many key benefits to it as well.
So much. So I got the place built, and there's still things like still doing the toilets up. There's still things that are happening, but I'm now at a stage where I'm like, right, cool. It's time to to kind of figure out what the model's going to be. And at the start of the year, I thought I knew that. A couple of months in, that's changing. I've never been clearer on the vision of where I'm going to take my business and what I'm going to do next with it. So right now at the point where I've pivoted my coaching in the last month or two, and I've put out to because it's hard when I don't know if this is just integrity in me, because I could say to my clients 1 month, right, you signed up with me a couple of months ago, we were going to see each other face to face for the next couple of weeks, but I'm not doing that anymore. I wanted to see their journeys through, and just when I had picked up clients, I was like, right, so the time to do that was last month, and I've said to everyone that, look, I'm moving to more of an online model. You want to see me, yeah, they absolutely see me, but that ticket's going up higher, and so that's more of a premium service now, and that gives me that freedom of time back. So in terms of if you look at the income, January, moving from gyms, there's a churn of people that use. I was like, right, fuck, I need to get money in. So I know I can get clients pretty easy. Run a couple of different strategies that I've done. There's a strategy called the scholarship play, or the other strategy which everybody loves. And every PT in January runs an offer, half price this, and I was like, who wants trained for free? Because I know if you get me in face to face, I'm converting you. So I got 15 people training with me for free, and 14 of them signed up in 3 weeks. And signed up to a 6-month block and all that sort of stuff. So yeah. I knew if I get someone in front of me, then I'm the new kind of kid on the block in their drain, all that sort of stuff. So January was good. So in terms of income, it was the move put me down to they 7-8 grand months, and I was down to 1,500, because from September till December, in my mind was I'm getting my studio. I need to plan it. I need to do that.
It's you need to remind yourself that it's not out of laziness. You were putting probably every penny in here. The time that you would have been coaching someone in your garage, you were in here building.
Yeah, every hour,
figure studio. Aye, that's class, mate. That's class. Are we able to walk around your gym just now? We'll do some